Well, hello, everybody. It's Hank Linderman. I hope you can hear me. Hope all is good, at least as good as it can be in your world. You're looking at a picture of Dr. Greg Adams, who was here last week doing an interview, and he sent this picture. I couldn't show it to you before because the version that he sent, I wasn't able to open properly, but there it is. That's Greg Adams. We're hoping he's going to come back and talk with us again. That was really great having him. Hi, everybody. How are you doing? Welcome to Getting Angry. Today is July 27th, Monday. Mary Richardson is here. How are you? As always, we ask you to share, and I'm going to come up with a way of asking you all to share. I was thinking maybe the Wilhelm scream would be a way to do that. Do you all know the Wilhelm scream? The Wilhelm scream is... Yes, it's a very famous scream. Roy Frazier is here. Roy, please share. Okay, we're gonna use that at least for a little while as our sound. My name is Hank Linderman. I'm running for Congress here in Kentucky's 2nd District. That's a district that extends from just south of Louisville, so Bullitt County on down to Bowling Green, from Owensboro, Kentucky, across to Danville, 21 counties. Beth is here. Hi, Beth. How are you? Everybody, please share. I'm sure Bill McNichol will be on here pretty soon asking us to share again as well. And I've got all sorts of things to talk with you about. And I'm not sure where to begin. Are you all not hearing me? Anybody hearing me? Sound. I guess everybody's hearing. Oh, the sound? Are you talking about this, Jenica? As far as I can tell, you all are hearing me. Somebody let me know that the sound is okay. Anyway, glad to have you all here. Lots to talk about. I have a disturbing thing to talk about, and maybe that's what we should talk about first. Mary Richardson, everybody hears us. Okay, John is good. There's something distressing that showed up on Twitter today, and I retweeted it. Here it is. Now, that's not the real Robert De Niro, but what I'm going to show you is a video of a 14-year-old girl who's in Eugene, Oregon, and she's walking with some protesters. And what you'll see is the police grabbing her, accosting her. It's hard to tell why they grabbed her. Meanwhile, there are some counter-protesters that are assaulting people that the police ignore. Let's see if we can get this to play. So the young girl is in white right there, and in kind of bicycle shorts, it looks like maybe. And here come the police. They grab her. 1, 2, 3. Four officers. Sorry, only 3. Here comes the 4th.
All of that was on record. All of that's on record.
They're engaged in an act of riot and unlawful assembly. Orders dispersed from the area immediately.
Now, it's really not clear why they're grabbing her.
Tear gas or an attack weapon. You may be subject to arrest. Disperse the area immediately.
All right. So obviously that's a very distressing image. We do have people in the streets that are upset with a number of things. You know, there are a lot of issues going on in the country that are being challenged, and one of them is the role of the police. And I'm going to say this right now. The police officers don't help themselves when they go after 14-year-old girls who are just walking. There was no good reason for that, and they did it in an unnecessarily violent way, I thought. So that's very distressing, and I hope you all agree with that. By the way, if you're not on Twitter, this is a good way, another way you can help with our campaign. You know, besides sharing our videos, which is very important and it makes a massive difference, if you can share on other social media as well, that helps. Mark Andes is here. And Mark, we're using the Wilhelm scream to signify, please share. It's important. We need to share. I'll get a better sound. Jenna Ray says that's fascism, and I am not sure that I disagree. I'm not sure what it is, but we have a severe problem with policing here in the United States, and it's not going to get better anytime soon, unfortunately. Sorry about that. I just I'm getting a call that I'll have to call that person later. Pam likes that scream. I think the scream, I kind of like the scream. So the scream means share it. I've got more sounds. I'm afraid to share them. Let's see. Would you like to hear some more sounds? You know what else? I want to show you the studio that I'm working from. This is in my secure, undisclosed location. So let's see if you'll be able to see this. Yeah, so I'm now holding up the iPhone and showing you, this is now the video studio. And you see the ring lights, and notice the very high quality table or, table lamps that I've covered with baking parchment. And that's my little monitor so I can see what's going on. There's the microphone. Here's the button for the Wilhelm scream. Let's see, ready? There we go. And I really like this effect. Almost makes you seasick, doesn't it? Anyway, I think that's just really, really cool, but I guess I have too many toys to play with. Anyway, let's get serious again. We've got some numbers to look at. Oh, very good. Yes. And the studio, by the way, is covered with packing blankets. And I do have the red curtain behind me. And notice, by the way, if anybody out there from Bowling Green is watching, you'll recognize the White Squirrel t-shirt. The White Squirrel was my favorite place to go eat in Bowling Green, but it's unfortunately a victim of the virus. Let's look at numbers. Here are the numbers from today. Unfortunately, I still don't trust the numbers from the weekends ever. They seem to be really slow, but notice how we're bumping right up against 150,000 deaths, 56,130 new cases yesterday. So bear in mind that's yesterday, that's not today. And I expect we'll see a little bit of a bump up as we do a better job with counting the numbers. Next, we're looking at California, New York, Florida, Texas, and so on. These are the folks that are at the top. Now, California has the most amount of total cases, but the most amount of total new cases, we're back to Florida being in the lead. So these states are still in significant trouble. Moving on to, this is from Johns Hopkins, and you can see it looks like we might have hit a second peak, and we might be coming down from it. But it's obviously too soon to for us to declare victory here on that. And I think that gets back to, why aren't we going full Godzilla on this? That's my title, of course. You remember Godzilla. We're going to have to go Godzilla on the virus. And what does that mean? To me, going Godzilla means that we are going to have to shut the country down again and do it for real and pay people to stay home, pay families, pay everyone to stay home. That's your patriotic duty, is to stay home. And we have to make it last a little bit longer. If we had lasted just another couple of weeks, we would probably be not having to wear masks right now. And there are a list of countries I'm going to show you here in a bit. Let's review just a little bit. I'm sorry, digging around just a little bit. Here is, let's see if this will go. There it is. All right. This is a reprint of an article, or I'm representing this to you. And it's from a website called STAT. And they are discussing how many needless COVID-19 deaths were caused by delays in responding. And they say most of them Here's the fascinating chart. What this chart is saying is if we had done as well as Singapore, Singapore has 5 million, obviously the United States has 331 million, so to compare them, it's a little difficult to compare them. You've got to do a little bit of work. You have to do some math and compare per person, per head, per capita. So that's what this chart is doing. So if we had done as well as Germany, so look down at the bottom, United States. By the way, this was done back in June when we had only 117,800 only. That many deaths, still over 100,000. If we had done as well as Germany, Germany has 83 million people, we would, at this point in June, only have had 35,049 deaths. But look, if we had done as well as South Korea, we would only have 1,758 versus 117,000. Unbelievable. If we had done as well as Australia, we would have only 1,324 deaths. And if we had done as well as Singapore, 1,358. Looks like Australia did exceptionally well. And that is the problem with our response. We failed at controlling this virus. We are number one in the world with the number of cases, the number of deaths. So we have failed to deal with this. Now, that's a current discussion in the Trump presidency. And this story is from the Washington Post, as you can see. It says, one question still dogs Trump. Why not try harder to solve the coronavirus crisis? So I would suggest you get a look at the Washington Post. Oh, Bill's here. He's asking us to share. Bill, here's the sound we use. That means please share the broadcast. Makes a big difference. Anyway, I'm going to read a little bit from this article, just the highlights from it. In the 6 months since this virus was first reported in the United States, Trump has demanded the economy reopen, children return to school, and all the while he's scrambling to salvage his re-election campaign, which of course is not doing so well. They have some people who were close to the president who were willing to talk to him, to the Washington Post, and they say the crisis is due. His inability to wholly address the crisis is due to his almost pathological unwillingness to admit error. That's not a good characteristic. You have to be able to admit when you're wrong. That's power. It's weakness to never admit when you've made a mistake. With more than 146,000 Americans now dead from the virus, the White House has attempted to overhaul its approach, and they're doing honestly nothing that's sufficient. They're not doing what is required. We really do need to simply shut the country down again. We need to be more careful about who a required worker is. John Schott appears to like the Wilhelm scream. He says I should use it every time I say Trump. I'm going to think about that, John. I like that approach. Back to this article. His operating style is to double and triple down on positions and to never, ever admit he's wrong about anything, says Anthony Scaramucci. Remember the mooch. His 50-year track record is to bulldog through whatever he's doing, whether it's Atlantic City, which was a failure, or the Plaza Hotel, which was a failure, or Eastern Airlines, which was a failure. He can never just say, I got it wrong, and let's try it over again. Let's try and do it again. Nevertheless, some White House aides insist that he's always been focused on aggressively responding to the virus. You wouldn't know that by his actions. Hi, Cheryl. I'm glad you're here. Greg, I'll have to get back to Greg's asked a question about the stringency index. I think you're talking about the chart, and I'll have to get back with you about it, and I'll share the chart with you, and you can answer that question the next time you're on. Greg Adams is here. Will you all please let him know how much fun it was to have him on? Greg, we could have you on once a week as far as I'm concerned. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever you got to keep us up to date, someone who knows what they're talking about in medicine that can steer us straight. So you all, in the comments, please let Greg know how much you'd like to have him back. I want to have him back. Back to this story about President Trump. There's a high likelihood that when people look back and think about between February and April, that's when Trump burned down his own presidency and he can't recover from it. The decisions he made then ensured he'd be in his endless cycle of COVID spikes and economic disruption because he couldn't exhibit any medium or long-term thinking. Boy, that's sad, isn't it? That's just, that is terrible. Yes, Mary Richardson says yes. Mark Adams says yes. Everybody wants to have you back. Oh, look at that. Greg, we're gonna have you on the show once a week if you can deal with it. So I have another ad to show you. This ad is possibly the worst ad in the history of political ads, and I'm going to show it to you. Actually, that's not the shot I wanted to show you, but it might be the only one I've got. Okay, so this is an ad, and what I'm going to read to you, I didn't write this. I do lots of preparation to do this show every day. I do lots of preparation. It takes hours and hours of work, and as you can tell, I'm adding new sounds and adding new. Look at this. The phone is ringing. Sorry, you all. And it takes me lots and lots of time, but I'm not always writing everything you hear. As you know, I'm reading from articles, and I want to give credit where credit's due, because the Bulwark is one of the websites that I look at almost daily, and I suggest you sign up for them. Warn you ahead of time. They're a conservative website, but they speak with a lot of sense, and if I disagree with them, it's an honest disagreement. It's not, you bastards. It's not, screw you. It's not that. I have disagreements sometimes here and there, but they speak with so much clarity that I have to agree. Well, their story about this ad, and you're going to have to look at it closely. So this is what President Trump tweeted out, and it's an ad that he sent out. Look on the left. That's, he's basically presenting himself as public safety versus chaos and violence. And you're going to have to look at this. He's going after evangelicals and wants them to support him. And he's portraying the chaos and violence as what's going to happen if you vote Democratic. Never mind that this is actually, the violence that's going on is now actually part of Donald Trump's America. So anyway, I'm going to read this text. A couple of weeks ago, the Trump campaign rolled out an ad proclaiming that the president would protect a statue of Jesus from the woke left. The only problem was that the statue pictured in the ad was the famous Christ the Redeemer from Rio de Janeiro. That screw-up was under the Brad Parscale regime. Now, Bill Stepien has asked America to hold his beer. The latest ad from the Trump campaign running on the Facebook is an attempt to get the olds, by the way, the olds, that's you and me, I suspect, is attempt to get the olds worked up about their law and order screaming caps president. Here's the ad, courtesy of the Sharp Said Business Insider. You're looking at that ad right now. Pretty standard stuff with one exception. The picture on the right, where the evil hippie scum from Stumptown are wailing on the gallant law enforcement officer who's trying to protect God and country, it's actually from 2014. It's not from today. That is not the bad part. It's from Ukraine. But that's not the bad part either. The evil hippie scum are actually pro-democracy protesters. And the policeman getting beat up is a member of the riot police who'd been brought in to try to protect the authoritarian president, Viktor Yanukovych, who was attempting to turn Ukraine into a one-party state by extra-legal means. We're still not at the bad part. One of the extra-legal means Yanukovych employed, I'm going to get that pronunciation better, I promise. Yanukovych employed was a specialized federal internal police force, the Berkut, which answered directly to him and was used to assault his political opponents and tamper with elections. Another of the extra-legal means he was using was jailing the former Prime Minister Yulia Tymoshenko after beating her in the 2010 election. He actually locked her up. Now we're at the bad part. Wait for it. The picture Trump is using in his ad was taken on February 14th, 2014. On February 22nd, 2014, an overwhelming majority of Ukraine's parliament, 328 of 447 members, voted to remove Yanukovych from office. And on February 25th, 2014, Yanukovych turned up in, wait for it, Moscow, where he enjoyed asylum because he was Vladimir Putin's puppet. Again, we're reading from the Bulwark, so I'm reading word for word what the Bulwark said. So back to the Bulwark. The Bulwark says, I'm sorry, I lied, because we're not actually at the bad part yet. Buckle up your chin straps, because the really bad part is that after Yanukovych fled to Russia, the Ukrainian people charged him with treason. Not in the Fox News sense. They didn't go on TV and say, oh yeah, that guy, he was the worst, total traitor, human scum. No. They filed charges, and they tried him in a court of law in absentia, and they convicted him not of a little light treason, but of high treason. And also, the cherry on top, back in 2004, before Yanukovych had ascended to the throne and tried to destroy his country's democracy, he hired this really interesting American political operative to help his party. This guy's name was Paul Manafort. Perhaps you've heard of him? Okay, so we're no longer quoting the Bulwark. Actually, one more thing. They say irony equals dead. Just hard to believe. It's almost as if someone inside the Trump campaign is setting him up to fail. That is just impossible to believe that it's that bad. Well, anyway, we still need to go Godzilla on this virus. We need to shut the country down. We all need to stay home. In Norway, the way they were able to do it, they have a concept. I don't remember the word, but the concept is basically each other. We do it for the common good. We don't have a word like that in the United States, and we don't seem to have that concept, really. But we need to shut it down. When you're out in public, you need to wear the mask, but you probably need to stay home. Now, this is not going to happen until we have leadership that's willing to do the right thing. We don't have that leadership now. And I'm looking forward to see, John Rogers is here. Hi, John. How are you? John, since you're here, you got a little bit late. You don't know this, but we're going to ask you to share the broadcast. Please share the broadcast. I'll be back tomorrow. This is our new time, so I'm so glad so many of you were able to make it here. I'm glad you're here. We are trying to avoid bumping up into Governor Andy Beshear's time, which is coming up at 4 Eastern, 3 Central. So thank you all for being here. I hope you'll be strong. I hope you'll understand that when we're talking about getting angry, that the point here is to use your anger to focus yourself, to store things up. President Trump could still win, and he needs to be retired. We need to, by the way, I learned something interesting. If we are able to retire him, let's say President Trump, let's say that he is not reelected. I wondered if he could run again in 2024, and I think that he could. But apparently, I'm told that what we can do is once he's out of office, we can impeach him again, even if he's not in office, to make sure he can't run again. All right, we don't want to act like damn fools. That's right, Billy. Thank you all for being here. My name's Hank. I love you all. remember, we have lots of work to do. 98 days before the election, that's going to fly away. I'm asking for your help. If you can contribute a little money, that helps. You can do that at the website, Hank number 4KY, and you can write me a check. You can send me a Venmo payment. We've got a QR code, and you can contribute on Act Blue. It all makes a difference. We don't have a lot of expenses, but we need this money to be able to get this message out there. Thank you all so much. I will see you tomorrow. Take care of yourselves.